you guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today's focus will be creating an inseam pocket. This is relatively easy to do. I know you guys get tired of me saying that, but it really is. Oh my God, I'm being so honest. First things first would be to create the pattern. If you are interested, I can add a link for a free pattern, but it's really based on the size of your hand and how tall you are. So I am 5'1", weigh about, what am I weighing right now? 140. My hand, the opening for my pocket is about 6 inches, I believe, which works for me. If you're a little bit taller and you have bigger hands, you could definitely make your opening like an inch bigger or whatever it may be. But same goes as follow. It would still be the same process regardless of your size and how big you are, or how big your hand is. It doesn't really matter. It would still be the same process. Just, I don't want you following this step with 6 inches and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is bogus because my hand don't fit in this pocket opening. So just be advised. I'm folding this paper in half. And I just went ahead and I made the curvature of the pocket. My opening again is 6 inches. So from the top to the first notch, that would be 1.5 inches. And then from the second notch to the actual curvature of the pocket, that's another 1.5 inches. So with that being said, you can go ahead and trace your marking and create your pocket. I went ahead and I cut it out twice because you will need a front and back. This inseam pocket that we are creating will have a yoke. So by cutting it twice, you can have another little piece of paper, especially from the scraps that you had cut, in order to create the seam allowance for the yoke. Because remember, when you create a cut seam on an original pattern, you have to add to both sides in order to create that cut line as your actual seam. When you are cutting these pattern pieces, it's really important for you to cut them on the right side. If you're cutting two, obviously you'll have right sides together or wrong sides together because the fabric will be folded. So you're going to have both sides, a left and a right. Because I am only cutting for one side and I'm only making one pocket, I only cut one piece. So with that being said, if you only plan to have a pocket on the left side or a pocket on the right side, then you got to make sure that you're cutting it accordingly. Always remember that your yoke is going to be touching your body, right? If the yoke is touching the body, then that means that the actual base of the pocket needs to be facing upwards so that it's showing in the inside when you open up the pocket. Boom, boom, you'll be able to see it. The yoke is there so that when, if the pocket becomes slightly open or slightly pulled, the material is still matching with the shell. You can make two of the yolks and then you sandwich this inside. It makes it very clean, very nice and neat. The only thing is when you're sewing it, you sandwich this part into it. And then once you sew it, boom, 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 you fold it back, iron it out, and you're ready on to the next step. But for the purpose of this example, I only did one and I did not cut interface. This is just going to show y'all how to put it together. With that being said, we are ready. The very first thing we're going to do is sew this yoke together. Make sure that your markings are already there. Go ahead and place it, add your pins, and you're going to sew straight across. All right, so this is what it's looking like. If you want, you can add a top stitch here just to keep it nice and flat. Whatever you're going to do to the raw edges, right now, this one would be the right time for you to do that. And the next step will be to add this on top of that. Okay, just like that. And what you're going to do is sew from here, go around this bend, and back stitch here. This is all you're gonna sew, just that. There we go. Again, once you're done sewing around the curvature of the pocket, the next thing would be to finish that edge. So if you have a serger, right now would be the best time for you to go serge that the raw edge of that curvature. And I always like to add a set of double stitches, like just a double lock stitch, so that it doesn't unravel, or if it rips, it still has a secondary stitch line that'll hold it in place. But yeah, it's optional. You can do that. If not, it's okay. If you don't have a serger, you could do a zigzag stitch. Just make sure you zigzag stitch it right along the over the edge, so that it keeps it from fraying, because that's what we're going for. sure to add your notches on the front and back, as well as your pockets. So wherever your fabric is going to be meeting up, you have to have your notches there in place. What you're going to do is fold the pocket yoke back, and then you're going to match the front pocket lining to the center front like so, and use some pins. The goal is to pin it in place, make sure that your notches are staying in place, and you're going to sew right in between those two notches. It's imperative that you stop at the notch, otherwise it will throw everything off and you'll have to go back and take a couple stitches out or add a couple stitches in. So if you have to extend your notches past a certain point so that you're able to see it while you're sewing, definitely do so, because you have to make sure you stop at that notch. Next thing to do will be to clip on the notches out to where your stitch line starts. You're going to clip to the stitch line and not go through it or past it. So be sure to stop right there at the actual seam line. And then from there, you're going to fold your seam allowance back. If there's anything that you are doing to the seam allowance, right now would be the good time for you to do that part, because once we're done with that, we're not going to circle back to it again. Once you're done with that, I didn't do anything to mine, I just left it as is. Go ahead and iron your seam allowance down. Now you want your seam allowance to go towards the front. The reason to why you want it to go towards the front is so that you can fold it back. Okay? Once you've added your crease with your iron, go ahead and fold it back towards the pocket, and then what you'll do is you'll edge stitch. I want you to edge stitch right in between that C. You're going to back stitch right at the top, go all the way down, back stitch again to keep it in place. So far so good, we are almost done. Now we are going to attach the center back. Make sure that your notches, again, they're matching exactly how they should. You are going to do right sides to right sides. So your pocket will actually be in the back, and you'll have your center front right in the middle of the pocket along with your center back. So it should be layered center back, center front, which is already attached to your pocket. Once you line up your notches, add a few pins, make sure you're keeping it nice and secure. And once you have it folded, you can go ahead and stitch across. Now the goal is to catch the corners of the C so that you just sew right along there and you're not closing the actual pocket. One cool nifty trick that I learned is if you sew from the back, it'll be easier for you to catch the C, 1. And 2, if you add a pin that allows you to shift the opening of the pocket slightly, then as you sew, you won't close in your pocket, because it's very easy for you to close the pocket opening, stitching through all sides, and then you know, it's just a closed pocket. It's just a closed seam because you're not able to open it all the way. So if you follow these two, you won't have these issues. All right, you guys, this is it. We are all done. This is an overview on what it looks like. And as always, I like to show you guys all sides so that you have a better understanding of what and exactly how everything goes. I know for me, that's one thing I look into when I'm watching a video and trying to understand the gist of putting something together that I've never done before. But if you have any questions at all, please drop them down below. Do subscribe, like, and share so that others can have the opportunity to see this. And following from this, you'll see the gathering video, which is what I was doing over here at the waistline. So if you have any questions for that, you could watch the next video and it will guide you through on how you should gather your material. Other than that, I will see you next time. Peace, love, and happy sewing. Until next time.